Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So today we're going to be doing a tier list of potential running mates for Donald Trump because Donald Trump announced his run for 2024, assuming he does get the nomination, which is not a sure thing, but assuming that he does, he's going to have to pick a vice president to complete his ticket for 2024. And a lot of people have asked me, who is he going to choose? So we're going to do this in this video. We're going to rank the potential candidates on the tier list, and we will see how it shakes out when it's all said and done. But first, I have to tell you guys about our good friends over at Support the Second Coin, because as many of you people know, gun rights in this country are under attack, and what better way to fight back than get your free Second Amendment Is My Gun Permit coin. Just pay for shipping. It is high quality. You can get 10 per person max at the link down below in the description or the pinned comment. So here we go. We're going to fill this out. I don't have everybody that potentially could be selected on here, but I do have 25 people. I got some help from the Discord in terms of narrowing down who I should select. If there's somebody not on this list that you would like to see as a potential VP, please comment them down below. And I don't know, maybe we'll do an updated tier list at some point as we get closer. If DeSantis does run and he poses a viable threat to the nomination for Donald Trump, maybe we would do another tier list for him. But either way, right now we're doing one for Donald Trump. He's probably going to win the nomination still, more likely than not. So we're going to start off here. First option here is Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, who on paper you would say is not the worst selection. Again, he is from a swing state. He is from Georgia. You would like to have those 16 electoral votes. He's very popular there, and he does well in the Atlanta suburbs compared to other Republicans. And that's a good thing. And he's gotten a decent amount done as governor, reforming their election system, among other things. However, Trump and him kind of have this bad blood over 2020, and I don't think it's super viable, even though it's not the worst selection overall. We'll probably put him in C tier. Up next, we have Elise Stefanik, who is a congresswoman from New York who replaced Liz Cheney in her position of leadership in the House. And I do believe that Trump very well could choose her. Again, he has kind of hinted this like affirmative action tendency lately when it comes to picking women to lead things. Definitely, he did that with the Supreme Court opening, and it's very possible that people are speculating he might pick a woman. Also, there's this notion that Republicans could win more suburban women by putting a woman on the ticket, which I don't believe that's really true at all. But Stefanik is somebody Trump likes. I don't know why he likes her. She's very much a centrist if you look at her past record in Congress. I've talked about it extensively, done videos on it back when she was in consideration to be that conference chair. Altogether, I'll put her in D tier. She definitely doesn't really add much to the ticket overall, and she is somebody that on policy has been horrendous in the past. Up next, we have Governor Glenn Youngkin, who a lot of people are expecting could run for president in 2024. I disagree. I think, if anything, he's more likely to run for Senate than president at this point. And he is somebody who in the past did say that he would support Donald Trump in 2024 if he were to run. However, at this point, it does seem a little bit murky because Trump kind of hit back at Youngkin because he was attacked by Youngkin's lieutenant governor in the state of Virginia. I do believe Youngkin would be a decent addition to the ticket. He definitely has some independent suburban appeal. And he's somebody who, behind the scenes, I hear is pretty decent, probably a little bit more base than he likes to let on. So I'll put him in A tier for right now. So up next, we have J.D. Vance, the new senator-elect out of Ohio, who is from the Rust Belt, which definitely helps out. You talk about the swing states being Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. Those are the big three, and Ohio to a much lesser extent because it's pretty much guaranteed to go Republican nowadays. I think Vance does add something. It's kind of a little bit of a double down on the base thing, but he is very articulate. He's a good debater, and that helps out when you talk about the VP debate, which is where the VP probably has the most airtime during the presidential cycle, at least the most valuable airtime. But still, he'll only be in the Senate for a couple years. I don't think it's the most viable option for Trump. Maybe he'll be on a ticket in the future. But right now we'll put him in B tier. Up next, we have Jim Jordan. Very similar thing in terms of viability. He's from Ohio. He's definitely a popular representative in his district, but it's also kind of like a double down on the base type of thing, which is not the worst thing. I think that elections now, at least in terms of presidential elections, are won by, competency, resources, and ability to energize the base, or in some cases, not alienate the base. I think Jordan would be okay, but I think that there's better options out there that Trump could choose, and I think he's eyeing House leadership. So in terms of viability, I'd put him in probably B to C tier. We'll put him in the bottom echelons of the B tier there. So up next, we have none other than Joe Lombardo. One of the few Republican midterm successes was Lombardo's victory. He flipped the governorship in Nevada, defeated the incumbent Sisolak there by a point or so. And it's really going to be interesting to see what he does as governor. However, I don't believe that he'll really be able to do much to stand out in the next couple of years because of the fact that he doesn't really have a friendly state legislature at the moment. It's very possible he could be a good governor, but in terms of being Trump's VP or a viable VP, other than being from Nevada, I don't see what the appeal would be. We'll put him in C tier. And this is also a recurring theme. People that won in 2022, a lot of people are mentioning them, but they really don't have that much experience governing. They, would seem more like office climbers if you decided to take one of these people and instantly give them the VP slot. Even some people are in the running that didn't even win in 2022 as well, although they still will have futures in politics and could maybe get there one day. So up next, we have none other than Joni Ernst, who, again, I don't believe that Trump would be entirely opposed to selecting her. She has been a loyal backer of him in the past, but has also espoused some fairly liberal positions and had some liberal votes lately. I'll put her in D tier. She seems like she's kind of going a little bit downhill as a senator compared to 2016 even. So up next, we have none other than Josh Hawley, who is from the Midwest. He understands electoral strategy. He looked at what happened in the midterms and he blamed the Republican establishment. I think that that's a very, very good litmus test because that's exactly who was to blame for the midterms. But overall, I think Hawley would be a decent pick. Economically speaking, he does have a lot of appeal in the Rust Belt area that you would need to win. It is kind of a double down in the base pick, but again, that's not necessarily a bad thing if they can, bring something else to the table. I'll put him in the A tier for now. It's potentially a real possibility that he does get selected, although somebody will have to fill that slot in the Senate, and if he does decide to go for the VP slot and Trump narrowly misses, who knows what's going to happen in the Senate seat. You need to have somebody lined up there that would be a decent candidate. So up next, we have Kari Lake, who fell just short in the state of Arizona for the governorship there. She's very rhetorically talented. She would almost certainly eviscerate Kamala Harris in a debate. There's no question about that. But other than her being from the swing state of Arizona, she doesn't have a lot of experience in government yet. I think she has a great future in the party. I think that she potentially could be Trump's press secretary during his campaign or have some major role of involvement in his campaign. But VP, usually you're going to need some governmental experience. It'd be different if it was like, I don't know, somebody like Ron DeSantis at the top of the ticket where you have a little bit more leeway with the VP, but Trump's an outsider, Lake's an outsider. I'd welcome it, personally speaking, but I don't believe that she'll probably be that high up on the short list. So I'll put her in B tier for now. So up next, we have Kim Reynolds. Kim Reynolds is underratedly a very good governor of Iowa. She has a very decent record. She even won by a similar margin to what Ron DeSantis won by in Florida, except a lot of people aren't really talking about it for some reason. Overall, she's decent on the issues. She is pro-Trump. She's the new chair of the RGA. Massive upgrade over Ducey right there. I believe that she probably is up there on the list, in my opinion. I think Trump would even have her up there on the list. I think she would be a very decent option. I'll put her in A tier. I think she would do a very good job as VP. And I don't think she would exactly be somebody who would be, seen as the instant successor, because that's another thing. I don't want Trump to necessarily pick a VP who would be seen as the instant successor to him, because I think there may be better options out there in 2028 that are not exactly, people that are in power right now that could still rise to the occasion. But we'll really have to wait and see on that. I mean, we could even move her up to S tier based off of that fact alone as well. So up next, we have Kristi Noem, the governor of South Dakota, another woman that Trump does seem to like a lot, that is very mediocre on the issue. She caves into the donors a lot. You look at the trans sports bill or whatever that she rejected and didn't sign into law until she had a primary challenger, among many other things there. Economically speaking, she's out of touch. Even when it comes to COVID, they say the one thing she did good was not locking down. But at the same time, it's like nobody lives in her state. And even when it came to like the whole jab thing, she wouldn't actually step in the way, DeSantis did, or even Greg Abbott did with the corporate jab mandate. So I'll put her in D tier. I think she's been vastly overrated. Thankfully, more people are starting to call her out for it now, which is good. But hopefully Trump doesn't select her, even though she will probably end up on his short list regardless. Up next, we have Lee Zeldin, who ran a decent campaign for governor of New York, came very close. This is a potential option. I don't think he's fully there on every single issue, but at the end of the day, he is somebody that knows how to win. He knows how to actually get things done, and I think he could do a good job of defending Trump on that VP debate stage, and could be a decent VP and would not be seen as the instant front runner for 2028 necessarily. So I'll put him in B tier. You could argue that he would be higher, but I think that I'd arguably rather have him as the chairperson of the RNC, because he seems to be running for chairman, and that would be a good thing, because Ronna Romney McDaniel is awful and needs to go, and Zeldin would be an upgrade there. So I will say that. So up next, we have Mark Robinson, who's awesome. I love the guy. North Carolina's lieutenant governor, but again, that's the issue, lieutenant governor. He's potentially eyeing a run for governor. He would be a massive upgrade over Roy Cooper. I would love to see him run for governor of North Carolina, and they would have competent leadership. If Trump selected him as his VP, I couldn't be too angry about it, obviously, because the guy's awesome. I mean, the guy's also somebody who's like vastly to the right of everybody else who was on that North Carolina ticket slate back in 2020, and he outperformed everybody. So he is somebody that somehow can win despite just being based and awesome. I'll put him in B tier just because of the viability factor. But it is possible that in the future he could be that guy in 2028 to make a leap and run for president, for all we know. Up next, we have Marsha Blackburn. Again, somebody that Trump would probably select to like appeal to suburban women or whatever, and you'll probably get mixed results as a result. I think she belongs probably in C tier. She's better than some of the other options here, no doubt, but I think that Trump could do better. So up next, we have Mike Garcia, who won yet again in an election against Christy Smith in a deep blue district in California, or deep blue for a swing district. It was a lot bluer than the old district, but he's probably on track to win by a wider margin, and this is after he had some pretty based votes. Now, he's had some pretty iffy votes lately, which probably is going to take him away from being in the S tier, although you could kind of chalk that up to being from the district that he's from. He is somebody that Trump might choose because he wants to like appeal to Hispanic voters or something. He is a veteran. Those things are definitely points that would probably help his viability for being on Trump's ticket. Would he actually, help Trump make massive Hispanic gains? I don't really know. I mean, maybe some, but not really enough to make a difference there. But still, Garcia wouldn't be the worst VP pick. I'll put him in, A to B tier, probably in that range or so. I like Garcia. Stand-up guy, by the way. And he won. He knows how to win. That's a good thing. You like to see that. Up next, we have Mike Pence, who, again, he's somebody that was not a bad VP pick without hindsight for Trump in the past. However, there's no way that Donald Trump is going to pick him again. And honestly, just didn't have to show up for work that day. And then he could have defended Trump afterwards. And he could have, not gone on CNN and all these other networks to trash him. And he probably would have been able to lay low and, be able to still remain a viable contender for Trump's VP for 2024. But no. He didn't do that, and he really made some political miscalculations. I'll put him in D tier because, yes, there are worse people than Mike Pence on this list. Another Mikey P right here, Mike Pompeo. He's going to be in F tier, arguably, because he's somebody that definitely tried to sabotage some of the America First elements of Donald Trump's presidency in terms of foreign policy, was not really the best Secretary of State. He's lost a lot of weight. He's attacking Trump now, which kind of leads me to believe that he's going to run for president outright in 2024 for the nomination. We'll see. Definitely, there's going to be a lot of people announcing their run in the next maybe even few months or so. It could be a clown car, just like the Democrats had one in 2020. We could have that on the Republican side, and that's probably going to help Trump galvanize a larger share of the party if that is the case. But Pompeo would be an awful option, especially if he is somebody that could be eyeing the presidency in 2028. He'd probably just be yet another Bush, and we don't want that. So up next, we have Marjorie Taylor Greene. Would be a very risky pick because she is somebody that is very controversial. I do like her a lot. I like her a lot in Congress, and it's possible that it could pay off for all we know if it is that much of like a double down selection. But I'll probably put her in C tier. I think that she's really good in Congress, and she should stay in Congress, and losing her seat for a potential risk may not be worth it at the end of the day. So we'll put her up in C tier, C for Congress. Up next, we have Nikki Haley. You know where she's going, directly into the F tier. She's a globalist. She's weak on a lot of things, whether it's cultural issues, whether it's immigration, whether it's foreign policy. Definitely somebody who is very interventionist on foreign policy, and that is not exactly a good thing there. I believe that she's going to be going in F tier, and I don't think that she will endorse Trump in the primaries at all, so it's not really a risk to really be making there. So up next, we have none other than Rand Paul, who, again, there are some strengths to Rand Paul. He is somebody who has a good eye for navigating the deep state in terms of corruption. He's been the only no votes on some things that should have been no votes for everybody, at least in the Republican side. But he also is kind of weak on crime, and he's kind of weak on immigration. And I think that both of those stem from being a libertarian. And although some of his economic proposals are decently popular, some of them are not so popular, and they could hurt Trump electorally speaking. There's not that many libertarians compared to popular belief. There may be online, but if you look at the actual political compasses and tests that they've given actual people in the electorate, he's kind of like on a one-man island. So we'll keep him at C tier. Up next, we have none other than Ron DeSantis. And I like Ron DeSantis. People may say, well, you've been attacking him lately. Well, just because I prefer Trump over DeSantis for good reasons in 2024 doesn't necessarily mean I don't think he's a good governor. In fact, it's mainly the big money, the donors, the neocons that are in his corner that are pushing him to run against Donald Trump so they could get rid of Trump once and for all. But I will say that if DeSantis endorses Trump, doesn't run against him, he would make an amazing VP because it would unify the party ahead of the primaries, and Trump would obviously have to move his residency to do it, but it's not like that would take a whole lot of effort. It would be worth it. So I'll put him up in the S tier. I think it'd be a great selection for Donald Trump if it were to actually happen. But at the same time, do I anticipate it happening? Probably not, but it would probably be for the best of the party, so do keep that in mind. So up next, we have Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is a very unlikable guy. He's not liked by the right. He's not liked by the left. He's not liked by independents. He doesn't really help you add any voters. He's from Texas, but I don't think it would really help you in Texas. It might even hurt you in Texas. I mean, the only benefit is that he wouldn't be running for Senate again, but it would be a net negative for sure. Cruz is somebody that I will put in the D tier. He's slightly more likable with the beard, but still, he's somebody who will say anything to get elected, and he's just somebody that people don't really resonate with. He just doesn't really resonate with anybody at this point. So, yeah, keep him away from the ticket. Up next, we have Tim Scott. Tim Scott is somebody who has been an awful senator. He's basically John Boozman of South Carolina, except he's being propped up because of one thing, because people see, oh, well, he's a black senator who's a Republican. Add him to the ticket. We'll win the black vote. Doesn't work that way, by the way. Just saying. And he's somebody who is very pro-BLM and has defended them on multiple occasions. I mean, the guy's a train wreck all around. We'll put him in D tier. Up next, we have Tucker Carlson. And I like Tucker a lot, and maybe it's possible in the future he would be on a ticket or an advisor in Trump's administration. He basically was an informal advisor during Trump's first term, during the last couple years or so. Usually if Trump would cave in to some of his bad advisors, Tucker would criticize him, Trump would correct course time and time again. But would Tucker Carlson really leave his cushy desk job working at Fox News to be on Trump's ticket? I think he would speak to the Rust Belt, the independents there very well. But at the end of the day, I don't believe that he would be the most viable option. And I think that he would potentially run in the future for something, but not now. Up next, we have Tulsi Gabbard, the last individual on this list, who was one of the furthest left congresswomen until she left Congress. And then she instantly has been talking like a conservative on literally every single issue. And it's interesting. We could ask ourselves, was she grifting in Congress? Is she grifting now? Is she actually evolving? It's possible she is actually evolving, but there's still a lot of red flags there. She hasn't exactly disavowed the World Economic Forum yet, among other things. And I think that in terms of her foreign policy, she's decent. If she was going to be like a foreign policy advisor, even Secretary of State under Trump's administration, I could even see myself being happy with that. But in terms of everything that she's espoused, her being on the ticket and so close to the presidency where you have so many question marks, I just can't see it. C to D tier overall. So there it is. There are your potential VPs right there. You have the S tier, the A tier, the B tier, the C tier, the D tier, the F tier. By the way, this does take into account, if you're going to skip to the end, things such as viability. Would Trump pick them, among other things? For example, Tucker Carlson, Kari Lake on policy, a lot better than B tier. But in terms of the viability of it happening, or would it actually like help out the ticket in terms of their chances in the general, that's kind of what's being evaluated here. I think a lot of these people, C tier and above pretty much would be very helpful on his campaign or in some role. But either way, we'll have to see what happens. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.